Live from KSAT 12, the Nightbeat starts right now.
Getting paid to not go to work. Tonight, KSAT investigates the financial agreement between the Lavernia School District and a former top official with that district.
I ran the numbers before I came here. The neighborhood is safe.
You heard him there. That's San Antonio Police Chief William McManus's message to neighbors at the woods of Chavano almost a week after a deadly shooting.
A man was killed while attending a party at a short-term rental home in that neighborhood. Tonight, people living there asking city leaders about their own safety moving forward. The Night Team's John Paul Barajas was there.
How is the best way for this community to shut this down?
Frustrated neighbors at the woods of Chavano packed their clubhouse with one goal, making sure a shooting like the one in their neighborhood July 31st never happens again.
I was shocked, and yeah, of course I'm concerned.
Terry O'Donnell is on the Communities Association's board. He shared the sentiments of many after Jordan Benjamin Burleson was shot and killed at a short-term rental home on Hawthorne Woods.
That place was rented to people with gang affiliations. And the person who was shot that night, they were after him. It wasn't just an accidental shooting.
While San Antonio Police Chief William McManus assured neighbors their community is safe, he said no arrests have been made. As for the homeowner renting the property, City Development Services says their short-term rental permit expired in April.
We issued the citation. Again, I know it's not a lot, but it's $1,000 citation. That's the max I can go.
But Amin Tomas confirmed the city would pursue further action through its short-term rental ordinance.
To shut down that place for 1 year due to the criminal activity, okay? I'm working with the city attorney's office already.
As for preventing future shootings, District 8 Councilman Manny Pelaez urged people to be persistent with 311 and their neighborhood safe officers so there's record of any bad behavior.
Where we take our neighbors very seriously, their rights to quiet enjoyment of their neighborhoods, and that we will not allow, will continue to allow these Airbnbs to be used like party houses.
John Paul Barajas, KSAT 12 News.
This next story now is about yet another deadly party inside of an empty and newly built home. Now, if this story sounds familiar, it's because we talked about it with you yesterday. So now Bexar County Sheriff's deputies are looking for any information that helps them arrest the person who killed 17-year-old Landon Reyes. He was shot at a party on Rock Mill Dam early Sunday morning. If you scan that QR code on your screen right now, it's going to take you to a page where you can submit tips to investigators. You can leave your name or you could just stay anonymous.
You have earned every single day of the 15 years that you plea bargained for.
You heard it there from a judge talking to a mother. 15 years is how long this woman, Nicole Aguilar, will spend behind bars. That's after she took a plea deal for taking part in the death of her little boy, 5-year-old Dominic Aguilar Acevedo. Aguilar testified against her ex-boyfriend, Daniel Garcia, as part of the plea deal. Garcia was convicted in May for abusing Aguilar's son, 5-year-old Dominic Aguilar Acevedo, leading to his death in July of 2021. The couple then left Dominic's body in a ravine along a hillside in Colorado. Garcia will be back in court next week for his sentencing. He's facing 5 to 99 years or life in prison.
Now to another trial that we're following. Any day now, we're going to find out which punishment a jury picks for this man, and that's Alexander Castro. Castro was found not guilty of manslaughter, but convicted on a lesser charge of criminally negligent homicide. This has to do with an accident that killed 24-year-old Alexandra Sabert back in 2022. The jury is going to resume deliberations tomorrow morning, and once they reach a verdict, we're going to bring it to you on air and online.
The Bexar County Sheriff's Office remembering one of its fallen heroes today. A celebration of life was held for Deputy Meredith Portillo at Cornerstone Church. She was killed more than 2 weeks ago in a wrong-way crash. She was just 20 years old. Emotions high as family and friends gathered to say goodbye as they remembered the legacy Meredith leaves behind.
But I ask that we carry forward the love and laughter that she brought into each and every one of our lives and our hearts.
Shortly after this morning's services, Deputy Portillo laid to rest during a private burial ceremony.
I'm here today because I found such a leader.
I couldn't be prouder to be on this ticket and to help Vice President Harris become what we all know is very, very good for us to think about. Next President of the United States of America.
Tonight, we finally know the full Democratic ticket for the 2024 presidential race. Today, or earlier today, Vice President Kamala Harris announced that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is going to be her running mate. Supporters gathered in Philadelphia for Harris and Walz's first campaign rally. The Harris-Walz campaign raised more than $20 million today. If you're thinking, who's Walz? Well, you're not alone. On our website, we break down things to know about the Minnesota governor. Just look for this article on KSAT.com.
A top administrator at a San Antonio area school district paid tens of thousands of dollars not to show up to work. The professional leave with pay arrangement for Dr. Michael Duffick played out last school year. And despite Lavernia ISD now facing a $500,000 budget deficit, KSAT Investigates Dylan Collier sheds light on a secretive agreement that taxpayers footed the bill for.
In late March, a Lavernia Independent School District parent informed the board that he tried to report a safety concern to Chief Administrative Officer Dr. Michael Duffick, only to learn,
well, Mr. Duffick is on administrative leave.
In fact, by the time the meeting took place,
so we're here.
Duffick had already been on professional administrative leave with pay for more than 3 months, and more than a month earlier had informed the district he was stepping down. Duffick's February 9th resignation letter confirmed he would remain on the payroll, however, through the end of April. According to calculations based off his six-figure annual salary, Duffick was paid nearly $41,000 while on leave.
So why was Duffick on leave in the first place? Lavernia ISD for months has taken steps to keep that information from coming out publicly.
This resignation and release agreement offers at least one clue. It was signed by Duffick and Lavernia Superintendent Dr. Hensley Cohn in February and states that any allegations of misconduct related to Duffick's separation of employment would be removed from his personnel files and kept in a sealed file marked confidential. This confidential file was not included in the batch of records provided to KSAT after a state attorney general ruling in June. And an attorney for the district told KSAT we would have to file yet another request if we wanted it, starting the process all over again.
It's unusual to partition personnel files this way because at the end of the day, portions of those personnel files are public.
Mark Anthony Sanchez is an attorney not involved in this situation. He has represented at least a dozen ISDs in college districts.
My customary approach to public sector clients is to treat requests transparently, to give them their plain meaning, and if it is public, release it. It is a serious issue when the district is essentially giving away public monies and receiving nothing in return.
Lavernia's superintendent declined a request to be interviewed about the decision to continue paying Duffick while on leave for well over 4 months. In an interview with KSAT in the fall of 2020, Cohn told us, quote, whether we like it or not, we have to tell the story for what it is and be completely honest, whether it's about finances or what a teacher did or what a superintendent did. It's about communicating. Duffick's personnel file included a 2-page recommendation letter written by Cohn the same day the resignation and release agreement was signed, in which the superintendent highlighted Duffick's many accomplishments and wrote he played an essential role in the district's latest bond.
Now we know he's gone. We sweep it under the rug. We move on. That's kind of how things been handled.
For KSAT Investigates, I'm Dylan Collier.
And Dr. Duffick did not respond to a request for comment. He was promoted to Chief Administrative Officer after previously serving as the district's Director of Safety and Security. Lavernia officials have asked the AG's office to now block the release of Duffick's personnel files that they marked confidential. A spokeswoman confirmed Lavernia ISD enters the fall semester with a budget shortfall of just under $560,000. Right now, scan the QR code on your screen to read KSAT Investigates' full investigation into Lavernia ISD. You can also find the story at KSAT.com.
Now let's go to your Nightbeat News Flash. At least 6 people, including 2 children, are dead tonight after Debbie slammed into the southeast last night as a Category 1 hurricane. People across Florida, Georgia, and the surrounding areas have been dealing with widespread flooding. Tonight, the storm is slowly headed north. Well, Boeing factory workers say they felt pressured to work too fast and were unqualified for tasks that they were asked to do. That's one of the takeaways from a hearing today into the January 5th Alaska Airlines flight. If you remember that disastrous flight, the plane's door came off midair and 3 passengers suffered minor injuries. And that's a look at your Nightbeat News Flash.
Close up, you can't tell, but Medina Lake is only 4% full. Coming up tonight in the Nightbeat, we're talking to the community about what impacts have looked like this summer.
And they are headed to the Little League World Series. Coming up in sports, Larry going to show us how a team from Bernie punched its ticket to Williamsport and the big game.
So now that you're about to go to bed, I hope that you're feeling as calm as Wall Street was a few hours ago. Stocks closing higher just one day after the U.S. market's worst day since 2022. I know you probably got whiplash. Well, today the S&P went up by 1%. The Dow Jones climbed 0.8%, and the NASDAQ, that added 1%. Keep in mind that yesterday the NASDAQ had actually lost 1,000 points. So we asked an investor to put all of this mess into perspective.
And really, when you come in today, you take another assessment. Is this overdone? Is the panic that sort of set in overdone? And I think that's what we saw today. So if you just think about when I mentioned time in the market is more important than timing the market, market was down 3% yesterday, up today over 1%.
Yeah, that investor has been telling people not to panic. He says the next thing that investors are looking to is the release of the Consumer Price Index report. That's going to tell us about inflation, and that report is going to be released Wednesday of next week.
Not much left of Medina Lake, thanks to drought and other factors. And for some, their future relies on its future. The man-made reservoir is less than 4% full right now. And as the Night Team's Avery Everett explains, there are questions about how to save that water.
This is what 4% full looks like then.
This is it right here. Boom.
It's not hard to see where Medina Lake's water levels should be.
You can just look at the tree line and see the full water mark compared to where it is now.
Right by the dam, things are drying up. As of Tuesday, the man-made reservoir was only 3.6% full.
It's getting hard for me to imagine the water right here again, right where we're standing.
We should be in water right now.
Yeah.
But even this low, there's still a lake. And businesses like Wally's Water Sports are open to all, even me.
Good.
I'm ready.
I'll hold it a little bit while you pull up on in.
There's not a soul out here.
I mean, it's amazing.
Medina Lake is a man-made reservoir used for recreation, but mainly for irrigation. There's back and forth in this community about usage, and conservation is an ongoing conversation.
The best thing people can do out here right now is conserve.
With water levels this low, you really start to see what's at the bottom of Medina Lake. But recent rain over the last month has increased the water levels here, and residents say more change could come soon.
So unless we get some significant rains, it's going to recede back down.
For now, the community is determined to keep the crowds coming.
We'd literally be at the bottom of the lake if this thing was full.
If it was full, yeah, we'd be in a submarine.
As the search for solutions continues, they're using what they have until it rains again. Avery Everett, KSAT 12 News.
You know, I'm looking at that right there and I'm thinking about evaporation. We're going to be entering triple-digit heat pretty soon, and that means that the water is just going to...
Yeah, and that's one issue with Medina Lake Reservoir. You know, it's actually leaking underneath, another issue, and it has a very small watershed that just reaches basically up into central Bandera County and no real flowing river to go into it. So it's known for big fluctuations over the years.
Irrigation is what it was.
It was designed for irrigation downstream the Medina River for farmers. Anyway, let's get right to our temperatures. Look at this. Triple digits, 12 so far this year. Not even close to the pace of the past 2 years at this time. This time last year we had 41. 2 summers ago on this day we had 56. We are going to be above average, not just over the next 5 to 7 days, but even the next 6 to 10 days. The outlook is for all of Texas. to have a very good chance of being above average. Tomorrow we start the day at 79, 94 at noon, 102 is what we're expecting for the high temperature. Today we just missed 100 by 1 degree officially in San Antonio. Today we think we'll do it and actually exceeded by a few degrees and not much of a breeze either. Up to 105 Eagle Pass at Del Rio, 107 tomorrow. 103 Hondo and Pleasanton, 102 for the high temperature. We're feeling the summer heat. And yes, above average. Climatologically speaking, this is the warmest part of the year with the warmest average high at 97. We'll be triple digits, low 100s through Friday, and then near 100 this weekend and into early next week. Big Blue H, the dry high, the upper level heat high, as we like to call it, is pressing down on us. And it is going to drift a little bit westward into Friday, and a weak boundary could drop in, giving us a very slight chance, and I mean 10 to 20% chance of a few showers Friday on into the upcoming weekend. Otherwise, it's just sitting overhead. I know this isn't very much to show, but 10 to 20% chance Friday, and especially later Friday, Saturday into Sunday. Nothing like what they're seeing on the southeastern U.S. here and parts of the East Coast. This is still Tropical Storm Debbie. The center has moved offshore, could re-strengthen just a little bit, but it's not in the really warm waters of the warm waters that are farther offshore that we have on the East Coast here of the Gulf Stream. And it's probably not going to intensify too much, but think of this as just a big rainmaker. Already, parts of Florida days ago when it moved in have picked up over 14 inches. I actually saw rain gauge reports in Florida, just south of I-10 there in North Florida, of 22 inches. But look at this, up to nearly 16 inches of rain already in parts of coastal Georgia and even South Carolina. Another 10 inches possible. South Carolina on into North Carolina. We're watching this little cluster of thunderstorms that's out in the Caribbean. Not much to it, only a 20% chance of development. That's all we have to look at out there right now. And even if it did develop, it'd probably pass just south of Texas on into Mexico. Anyway, we're talking triple digits, just a 10 to 20% chance of a few showers. I wish I had better news and we could fill up those reservoirs and boost the aquifer a little bit more. One bonus is we don't have a lot of Saharan dust overhead. It's a little hazy, but just your typical summertime haze and no big plume of dust to return anytime soon.
Yeah, but about that time of year where the car starts to get really, really hot when you go in midday. So just be careful when you do that.
Absolutely. All right, how about that Bernie baseball team, Larry?
It didn't look good for a while. They were down 3-0, and then the doc came to bat, and that young man sent Bernie out happy because they are advancing to the Little League World Series. You got to love those young men. Plus, Devin Grant from UIW football started a clothing line for a great cause. Coming up.
Texas makes his first ever trip to Williamsport, Pennsylvania.
Bernie Little League is heading to the Little League World Series in big board sports. So Texas West, a.k.a. Bernie, won the Southwest Regional Championship, punching its ticket to the Little League World Series for the first time ever. Down 3-0, Bernie storms back in the bottom of the fourth inning, scoring 6 runs, capped off by this Doc Mogford grand slam to left, putting Bernie on top for good. He got all of that one. Time to party at the plate after Doc's clutch home run. Top 6, bring on the Doc to close out the game, and he gets the Louisiana batter to ground out, and that is your ball game. Time to throw your glove in the air and celebrate. The final from Waco, Bernie wins 6-3. Starting pitcher Julian Hurst went 5 1/3 for Bernie with 10 strikeouts. The Little League World Series in South Williamsport starts August the 14th. Entering his 9th NFL season, Cowboys running back Ezekiel Elliott has a lot of wear and tear on his body. He's carried the ball nearly 2,100 times to go along with 365 receptions in his pro career. So naturally, the media will often ask Zeke how he's feeling.
It's the healthiest you felt.
We missed you last year.
But, I mean, definitely. I think definitely so. I think this year is definitely taking a lot different approach where, just very much so watching my practice reps, just very much so watching, trying to limit the hits that I'm taking. The goal is to to feel really good. Week 14, week 17, week 1 of the playoffs.
The boys will play at the Rams Sunday afternoon. The UTSA Roadrunners are off to a fast start this training camp with a new group of transfer players. Now part of the roster, there's always a worry about learning a new program, but senior safety Elliot Davison likes how they've been clicking.
The guys that we've brought in are ready to go to me. Like, it's a lot of guys that are ready to go. And I think that's why this team is going as hard as we have been going with the pads on, because people are trying to play. We've got a lot of playmakers on the team for sure.
If you're intelligent and you have character and you can make plays, we're going to find a place for you.
A lot of spots will be filled for the Roadrunners over the next few weeks. Now, for the Incarnate Word football program, training camp has been grueling but important, and our Nick Mantis found out that one player has an important message with the brand that he created.
Well, we get an opportunity to speak with players after practice. It's always a good time to get to learn about them as a person more than just the X's and O's or how are you feeling in the first couple of days of practice. And one of the players who is from right here in San Antonio has a special brand with an even deeper purpose.
Oh yeah, Devin Grant. This is his brand. It's about mental health and being okay when you're by yourself, isolated. Devin is a rock star, man. He's a San Antonio guy. He's from Antonian High School, which is huge for our program. And we're going to continue to bring San Antonio's guys back into the fold, and we're going to continue to support our guys on and off the field. So
I just, growing up, I just didn't really have the support coming from a father figure, and just I learned everything kind of by myself. I just learned things that normally your father would teach you, but I just learned by myself, and I feel like I turned out okay. So it's just pushing the notion of when you're by yourself and you feel alone, that you can take that time to reflect and you can grow as a person. You can learn things by yourself more than someone telling you something. I wanted to parenthesize the I to just make sure everyone has a different story. Everyone thinks that isolated is different, has a different meaning for it. So just kind of the parentheses is whoever's wearing it is that their own definition for it. So.
Well, we'll already get a sense of this team is never going to feel isolated this season. These Cardinals seem like they maybe are a little bit stronger, have a little bit more of camaraderie entering this upcoming season. From Incarnate Word, Nick Mantis, KSAT 12 Sports.
Thank you, Nick. We've got your Olympic update after the break. Welcome back. In the Summer Olympics, the U.S. men's basketball team beat Brazil 122-87, moving into the semifinals. And France beat Canada 82-73, advancing to the semis as well. Victor Wembanyama had 7 points and 12 rebounds. American Cole Hawker pulled an upset, winning gold in the men's 1,500-meter final. And American Gabby Thomas dominated the women's 200-meter final to win gold. And the U.S. women's national soccer team beat Germany 1-0 and will face Brazil for the gold medal. And that's some of your highlights from today. Here's the medal count. The U.S. leads the way with 86 total medals. That's 24 gold, 31 silver, and 31 bronze.
USA.
USA.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Can't believe we're talking about back to school time. I know. If you still need to get some supplies or clothes for the new school year, well, you know what weekend's a good time? This one. Don't forget that this weekend is tax-free weekend. It's August 9th through the 11th. And KSAT.com is your one-stop shop for all things back to school, whether it's schedules or back to school backpack giveaways. We have you covered on all things in between. So again, scan that code on your screen to go straight to the KSAT back to school page right now. And don't forget to tune into Good Morning San Antonio for all of your back to school coverage.
And school time means fall, means football. We're getting ready for the annual KSAT Pigskin Classic this year. Bernie will take on Piper. It's happening Thursday, August 29th. At Piper Warrior Coliseum.
Sounds serious.
Be there.
Yeah.
Guess who's going to be there with his Cañón shooting t-shirts?
You.
This guy.
That's right.
Yep. So in Texas right now, 20% of the state is considered in drought. A lot of that is in our neck of the woods, unfortunately.
Thank you so much.